In this episode, we're looking at something that should have Tesla checking its rear view. This is the refreshed 2025 BMW i4 xDrive 40. It already was one of my favorite EVs to drive just for its fun to drive factor, but now I think they're bringing some heat. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things. And on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, I have come to appreciate this i4 simply because it's a genuine BMW that happens to be electric, and this 2025 refresh has a bunch of things going on, and we really need to have a look at this. So before we get into what this is like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. For this 2025 refresh, there's a fair bit going on, so let's get into it. You can see some updates both inside and out. There are some new colors available for 2025, new kidneys on the front. The exterior lights are updated as well. Inside, there's a new steering wheel, the curved display that we're seeing on all of BMW's latest, including the latest iDrive OS 8.5. This one is rear-wheel drive, and that's a traditional BMW layout. There's one electric motor at the back, makes 335 horsepower and 317 pounds of torque. There is an 84.3 kilowatt-hour battery on board. Max charge rate is 205 kilowatts, and according to the EPA, the range is 301 miles. In Canada, they rate this at 484 kilometers max range. Steering is electrically assisted, of course. It is variable assist. Suspension at the front is the familiar double joint spring strut setup. At the rear, it's a multi-link 4-piston front calipers, single piston rear. Wheels and tires are 18s or 19s. This one's rocking 19s. Curb weight of this i4 xDrive 40 is a little over 4,700 pounds, and static weight distribution is 45% front, 55% rear. But on this channel, we know it's not static weight distribution that counts, it's how you use it.
Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode.
Fun fact, BMW designers wanted an even larger grille for this i4, but they had to stop when they realized that it qualified as commercial real estate in some European countries. This seating position is just perfection. I'm seated nice and low on the floor. Great relationship to the steering wheel and to the pedals. This M branded steering wheel is definitely M in vibe. It's got a thicker rim diameter. It is heated, of course, at this specification. Other than the little flat bottom bit, love this steering wheel. And in terms of the pedals, well, 2 pedals, of course, but because it's a proper BMW, there's a nice dead pedal for my left foot that supports me when we're cornering and enjoying this through the corners. The seat itself, proper BMW, very comfortable, very supportive, highly adjustable, and enough bolstering to support you in the corners. Really dig that. After that, we have a modern BMW interface, a lot of which is kind of touch-based, but there still are thankfully switches and buttons and dials here, including a volume knob. Really can't complain about that. The HVAC controls, the climate controls, they are up here in the screen, and that's fine. At least they're easy to deal with. You don't have to drill down into any menus. The iDrive controller is somewhat redundant, but if you're accustomed to BMW and have been driving BMW as well, this makes a lot of sense. But everything is here in the screen. This does make it a little bit easier from time to time to navigate certain things, but this is a touchscreen. I've come to appreciate this shifter a little bit more simply because it keeps this area clear of a traditional shifter, but this one's made of glass, and fun fact, it's made from the tears of Tesla owners. In terms of this big screen, well, the best part is the instrument cluster, which is configurable in terms of the information you want delivered, and really dig the way it works. It works in almost all lighting conditions, even direct sunlight. It's very easy to see. They've engineered this properly. This iDrive 8.5 is fairly sophisticated, and again, we've only covered some of the things it's capable of doing, but it'll memorize your habits. It can precondition the cabin, do all kinds of things. But one thing it doesn't seem to have the ability to do is teach BMW drivers how to use their turn signals. As for this infotainment system, I just generally use it on Apple CarPlay, and I'm happier that way. The navigation system in most EVs will show you where the nearest charger is, but this one will actually let you identify certain networks, and especially, most importantly, blacklist certain networks, because in this part of the world, there are some networks I will never visit with an EV. It's kind of like being able to block your ex on social media. Petty, yes. Satisfying? Absolutely. In terms of visibility, well, this is the Grand Coupe body style. So the first thing you notice is that lower roofline back here. So the view of the rear view mirror is a little bit compromised in terms of the distance you can see out the back, but otherwise I'm very happy with visibility. Big outboard mirrors, auto dimming all around, which is helpful at night. And you can adjust these properly to eliminate the whole notion of blind spots. And on this channel, we know blind spots are a myth. With respect to spaciousness, well, at least you and your front seat passenger will be very comfortable here. Lots of room, lots of storage, feels very open and airy inside this cabin. Certainly if we have this sunroof shade open, it adds a sense of openness to this cabin. Does not feel cramped in here whatsoever. Second row, however, well, because it's the Grand Coupe roofline, there's a little bit less headroom. Even for me, I'm not that tall. Getting in and out of the back seat is a little bit compromised. Headroom, even for me, is compromised, but thankfully I can fit behind myself in this seating position. What I do appreciate is the functionality of the hatch, and there's lots of room there. You can easily load larger objects, no problem whatsoever. And then, of course, you can fold the rear seats, and there's some usable storage underneath the floor. It's very flexible. So if you do a lot of things like carry bicycles or snowboards or golf clubs like I do, well, it's easy to load them through the hatch and live with this car on a day-to-day basis. Now, in terms of acceleration, well, it's just a single motor EV, rear drive, as it should be in BMW land. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds or so, and that is quick enough. But of course, the story here is the torque is instantaneous, and it's available 100% of the time. Top speed is something north of 100 miles an hour, which is certainly more than fast enough for this part of the world. Funny thing is, I really appreciate the rear drive dynamics of this i4. It's not all-wheel drive, which means there's not an electric motor at the front axle, and weight distribution, as you know, is a little bit different than an all-wheel drive i4. So what I do find is that it is a little lighter on the nose, and in a straight line, there doesn't seem to be any compromise, because between the electric motor and the calibration of the stability and traction control, this thing has no problem putting down all of its power and all of its torque anytime you want it. And that's the biggest thing for me, is how well they've tuned that single electric motor and the traction and stability controls to put down all of that power reliably. And I can go full throttle almost all the time without any bad behavior from this chassis. And in fact, it does seem near perfect in terms of the way the power is distributed at those rear wheels. I'm very impressed. In day-to-day driving, what I do find is I'm in this B mode, which is for a little bit more aggressive regenerative braking. It's almost one pedal-like. It's not an aggressive one pedal setup, but love the way it responds to my inputs. It's very intuitive. Yeah, I'd like a little bit more regenerative braking, but I really can't complain. It's very intuitive, very natural, and you can tell BMW's engineers carefully calibrated this to be very satisfying to drivers like us. When it comes to handling, that is the highlight of this i4, especially in this xDrive 40 spec, because we've got the motor over the rear axle, which is where it should be. And because it's not all-wheel drive, there's not one at the front. So that changes a number of factors. Weight distribution, as you know, but also the fact that there's not an electric motor up at the front makes this a much more willing dance partner in almost all situations. In the corners, it's a little bit more lively. Under better braking, you've got better feel, and you've got better control when you're enjoying this through the corners, through the brake pedal, through the steering wheel. And it's an absolute joy to drive because it does have those responsive dynamics of BMW. Steering is nice and strong on center, and of course this is just a variable assist kind of system. Works great when you're parking, and then when we're enjoying it in the corners, it directly translates your steering inputs into getting this car right into the turn where you want it and carve that perfect line. Braking is certainly another highlight. We do have those multi-piston M calipers on the front, and I think that makes a big difference in terms of brake feel. Very happy with how that brake pedal performs. And yes, we've discussed this in previous episodes. Engineering an EV, when it's got regenerative braking and then conventional brakes, blending those two to work properly can be a bit challenging. And in this case, they've done an incredible job of tuning that brake actuation and regenerative braking, and it feels very natural. When I'm into the brake pedal, I've got precise control, and of course, these brakes are incredibly strong. If you want to win at the next Cars and Coffee, well, bring in i4 and tell them about the tail lamps. Here's the thing, the lasers actually illuminate bundles of fiber optic cables, so it's kind of like having a lightsaber for brake lights. And for fun, let's give it a try. I just love that brake pedal. Just absolutely perfect. Very, very good feel, excellent control, and I can modulate that pedal perfectly. And then, of course, when we're in the corners, the brake pedal on corner entry is very, very precise. I love it, and I can adjust the attitude of this i4 on corner entry. It's perfect that way. Then coming out of corners, because that motor's at the back, acceleration, when we got that weight transfer to the rear axle, the motor's already there, and there is some additional weight over that rear axle, which puts more weight over those rear tires, those contact patches, allowing this to put all of that power to the ground. So in the corners, this is incredibly satisfying to drive. How do you spec yours? Well, that's an important question because in BMW land, there are always performance options available. What you are looking at is Cape York Green with a black Sensitech interior. This one's reasonably well equipped with the premium package and the M Sport package. Base price in the US is $57,900. As tested, this is $66,750. In Canada, base price is $63,990. And as tested, this is $80,040, and these prices are before freight, local taxes, and incentives. In terms of speccing yours, well, first things first, for my American friends, I don't believe you can get Cape York Green in your country, and it's unfortunate because it's a very cool, modern color and kind of dig it. I do think this body style does work on some more interesting colors. And as for your spec, well, make sure you get the M Sport package. I do think it has a factor when it comes to drivability, and I would absolutely make sure that my i4 had that. As for me, I just simply get mine in black paint with a black interior and call it a day. My verdict, well, let's get into some of those game-changing technologies of this 2025 refresh. First, the navigation system. Yes, it will find you a charging station, but one thing it does, it allows you to blacklist charging networks. That is next level. Second, you've seen this interior all throughout this episode. Just look at it. It's an attractive interior, and it solves one of the biggest complaints people have about Tesla: build quality. This interior is stunning and a proper luxury sedan interior. Third, and this one kind of surprised me, the tail lamps. They use lasers, and actually the tail lamp design and engineering comes from the M4 CSL, which is one of our favorite all-around BMWs. And the thing is, they're not just for show. The technology creates a distinctive light signature that's visible from further away, and that's proper German engineering at work. BMW says this car is for innovative luxury buyers. Translation: people whose neighbors tell them to buy a Tesla but can actually think for themselves. But there is one reason why Tesla is not so worried about this i4. And while BMW nailed all of these updates, they're still working with the same basic platform. That means range and acceleration numbers pretty much have stayed the same. Sure, Tesla may still hold the advantage in terms of raw performance metrics, and for some buyers, that's all that matters, but whatever. But here's the thing, BMW is not trying to out Tesla. They build cars for drivers, and that's exactly what this i4 xDrive 40 is. It happens to be an EV, but it is all BMW and comes with all the satisfying driving dynamics we've come to expect from BMW. If you're looking for a toaster on wheels, this is not it. And if you're looking at an EV and enjoy driving, well, you owe it to yourself to look at a BMW i4. And I definitely want to know what you think. Are these updates for this 2025 i4 enough for people to consider this over a Model 3, for example? Well, I certainly think so, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 BMW i4 xDrive 40. Hope you liked this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. You have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. BMW still makes manuals. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even BMW i4s. And since you've stuck around this long, well, have a look at the opposite end of the spectrum of the i4 range. It's our review of the i4 M50. Hope you liked that episode. I think you will. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.